So, good afternoon. We are back again. Sunny day, very sunny day, and loving life at the moment. Apart from the fact that crybaby Klopp has got our game called off, which we are going to get into in a short while. Big up to everybody who's just come from the stream with Matisse, Fuad, and Corey. That was sick show. Make sure you go and check that out. And maybe if I take these off, I might be able to see the comments. I can't actually see. But our game has been called off. I'm not happy about it. And this is just Klopp getting his own way as usual, cry, and getting his own way as standard. It's mad. Now our game has been rescheduled to the 13th of this month, which means we've got 2 games in about 40 odd hours, and one of them is Tottenham away, and then obviously we've got the return leg on the 20th. So yeah, 7 days, 3 games, 2 against Liverpool, 1 against Spurs, and I don't really understand why this guy is crying. This is the same guy who put out a full youth setup, didn't even bother turning up to the game because he went to the Club World Cup with Liverpool, and now he's crying about a couple of cases and a few injuries. The guy's an absolute clown. I love him to bits in terms of his management style and stuff like that, but this guy just moans about everything. You know, people are going, "Oh, so do you, Lee." Listen, big up to everybody watching live, man. We're going to get into this, and I'm going to read out the statement that's come out. Big up to everybody who stuck a like on the video. Come on, big up to all the members in the cut as well. And big up to all of you lot. Fraud Klopp, man said. I'm struggling to read these comments, man. I can hardly see him. Yeah, come on. Yeah, mate, seriously, Klopp has... I don't know how he's managed to get the game called off. I'm pretty sure that Karius is still at the football club, so why can't they put him in goal? I don't understand it. But let's go in so I can actually read the comments. Make sure you are sticking the likes up. I will be back twice more today as well. Both uploads, 6:30 and 10:30. So make sure you come and check them out. There'll be transfer videos. Obviously, there'll be no match day now. So I suppose I don't get a day off. I just get an early night. I won't be getting in bed at like 3 a.m. after loading up the fan cams and all of that. But at the end of the day, this is my point, Bailey. Yeah, why can't he play the kids? Like, I don't understand it. This is the same guy that didn't even bother turning up to a game because he was in the Club World Cup. Yeah, and now he's got the audacity to sit and cry and moan and bitch about, oh, we've got a few cases, we've got a few injuries, this and that. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. I want to know what the criteria is to get a game called off. Arsenal have posted this out on their website. We're disappointed to confirm that our Carabao Cup semi-final first leg against Liverpool on Thursday, the 6th of Jan, has been postponed due to an outbreak in the Liverpool squad and staff. As a result of the postponement, the order of matches has been changed. The first 2 legs will now be played at Anfield. The first of the 2 legs, will now be played at Anfield. Wow, I didn't even know that. So now they get nah, that's even worse. So now the first leg is at Anfield, and then the return is at the Emirates on the 20th. They're taking the mick. So they've managed to get the game postponed, and now they've got the first leg at home. How is that even possible? Oh my days. Yeah, this is a good point. Let's be real. If you played on the 13th and lost, your fans will go crazy. They're going to be unbearable. Well, listen, I think that they have a right to be peed off. Like, it's not often that I get peed off about other clubs. Yeah, because other clubs are doing what I want my club to do, especially Liverpool. But how is that even possible that you can get a game called off and then it works out in your favour that you now get the home leg first? That's taking the mick. Yeah, that is taking the mick. That should be that should be the first leg on the 13th being at the Emirates, and then the second leg on the 20th being at their ground. It should be the same as it was. Man said, why loads of games are called off? Why do you care about Liverpool? Well, we're not playing loads of teams. We're playing Liverpool, mate, and they've got the game called off. Well, I don't get what your point is. Yeah, it's mad. Let me have a look on Liverpool's website. I want to see what players and staff and that are out. Let's have a little look. Liverpool.com. There we go. Let's have a little look at this. Postponed. Right. Here we go. So Liverpool's Cup semi-final first leg fixture with Arsenal has been postponed. The club's submission to have the fixture rescheduled has been approved by the EFL due to the increasing number of suspected positive cases. What do you mean suspected? They're either positive or they ain't. What does that even mean? The latest round of testing on Tuesday returned a significant number of positives, including Pepin Linders, who was due to take charge of Liverpool at the Emirates. The outbreak has left Liverpool without a significant number of players and staff to fulfill the contest as originally scheduled. As a result, the first leg of our last four encounter will now be played at Anfield at 7:45 GMT. The return will take place the following Thursday, the 20th, 7:45 GMT. It doesn't tell me who's got it. Let's have a look at that. So does it tell me anyone else that's got it? No, Liverpool's website doesn't tell me. If anyone in the chat can put it in, that'd be great, because I want to know how many players and staff they've actually got out, because I'm pretty sure that you have to have 13 outfield players. Well, they barely use their first team anyway in this competition. So why can't they use a couple of their kids from their academy? Liverpool fans bang on about how great their kids are in their academy, so why don't they use them then? Yeah, it's mad. Totally agree, Raphael. It's just a load of crap, isn't it? Yeah, it is literally a load of crap. Alisson and Firmino are out. I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. I know they've got a couple of players out injured, and then obviously they've got 3 players that have gone to the AFCON. Yeah, but it's like, it's mad. We're going to have 3 games in 9 days. Yeah, it's crazy. We got 4 games in 9 days. We've got 3 games in 7 days. 2 are Liverpool and 1's Tottenham sandwiched in between. They have 8 players out. So how have they got the game cancelled then? Because I'm pretty sure that would leave 15 players, right? Then obviously they've got 3 that have gone to the AFCON. So why don't you just promote 3 of your kids? It doesn't make sense. Big up Rickon, man. Big up to Rickon. Big up to Rickon. Yeah, this comment's good as well. He said he won't sign anything. Exactly. And now they've got a game called off. Bro, it's mad. It is actually mad. And their game on the 9th of January is going ahead against Shrewsbury. This is what I'm saying, mate. Yeah, they've done this strategically, mate. Yeah, to get it in their favour. I don't understand how the EFL have managed to call this game off. I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, this guy was the guy that didn't even bother turning up against Aston Villa and played a whole reserve team against Aston Villa because he was at the Club World Cup. Like, I genuinely don't understand. Okay, cool. If you get the game called off and you can't field an eligible squad, cool. But now the first leg's at their ground. How does that even work? That's just taking the mick. Big up to LFC Day Trippers, man. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. Type it in on YouTube. Liverpool have no goalkeepers. What about Karius? I thought he's still there. I think, what's his name? Adrian's injured, isn't he? But I'm sure Karius is still at your club. I'm sure you'll have academy players. Come on, man. Academy goalkeeper. Promote him. The game on the 9th isn't confirmed yet. It's actually mad. I'm pissed off with it. I can't lie. Yeah, I'm genuinely pissed off with it. It's like... I'm baffed. And the thing is, I didn't even know that the first leg had been rescheduled to their ground. I just thought that the game was called off and the first leg would be on the 13th at our ground. How can that even be a thing that you can now switch the first leg? I don't get how that's even possible. Like, the draw was the draw. Like, that's a Mickey take. Seriously, that's really pissed me off. You know, like I said, I'm not one to sit here and cry about other teams like often. I very rarely do it, if at all. But that's really pissed me off. I can't lie. I don't get it. I don't get it. Big up to Luke Tompkins for the donation. It's perfectly fine for them to field an under-18s in the other rounds, but all of a sudden it's now a semi-final. They wanted a fully available squad. Exactly. Go and have a look at their squads all the way through this competition. Yeah, they've played a reserve team all the way through it. So how's it now an issue to play a couple of kids out of the academy? Like, it makes no sense to me, mate. I understand that they're goalkeepers, I've got it. Karius isn't registered to play. Oh wow. Well, maybe the EFL would give him a little bit of a sanction to let him play, seeing as they can change the legs round. Surely, if Liverpool submitted a request to let him play, they can change a leg from our ground to their ground. So surely they'd let Karius be registered, seeing as it's a problem with the goalkeepers. Very similar to how Southampton signed Willy Caballero as an emergency loan or an emergency player because Southampton's goalkeepers are out. Surely the EFL would let Liverpool do that and get him registered for that game. But obviously Liverpool didn't want to do that, did they? Big up to Big Josh. Go and subscribe to Big Josh as well. Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, I'll send you the link now. Where am I sending it? Shall I text you it, yeah? Yeah, I'll WhatsApp it to you, yeah? Because I'm not on Twitter anymore. I'll WhatsApp you it now, bro. But yeah, listen, smash the likes up, people. Smash the likes up. We'll get a Liverpool perspective on it now. And not just my biased Arsenal opinion. And 600 people in here real quick as well. Like I said, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you are liking the video. And make sure you come back and check out the videos later on today, 6:30, and also at 10:30. Make sure you come and check them out. They'll both be transfer videos. Obviously, we've let Maitland-Niles go, and Gini Wijnaldum looks like he could be coming to Arsenal. I'm kind of happy about that, if I'm honest. I think he's a quality player. Gav, I've sent the link, man. I've sent the link. FPL Aussie. Klopp encouraged all of his players to have the needle. Yeah, that aged well. Mate, it's mad, isn't it? It is actually mad. It's mad. And this is the thing. It's like, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I want to keep my channel. I want to keep my channel. Klopp shat himself. Didn't fancy us without Mane and Salah. Ridiculous. The league should instigate postponements, not teams. Big up, Gav. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm watching you giving out, and I'm having a cup of tea here, and I'm laughing my head off. Look, it's a mess. I don't think either club are at fault. I think it's a mess that's been coming for the last month or so. And you know what? I'm only to be on my channel talking about it. I wanted this game to go ahead. And if I had to be in 14 players, one goalkeeper, and they were all under 23s, I was quite happy for that to happen, because you know I've been a little bit like you when it came down to the Premier League games, where I was like, why aren't these players available? You know, you can choose from 23s and stuff like that. I really got annoyed over what happened with Spurs and United, basically just closing training grounds and deciding they were telling the Premier League they weren't playing football games. And the Premier League haven't covered themselves in glory in all this league, because we still don't know what they're at. You know, they weren't cancelling games. They took Spurs and United at face value. Fair enough. Then they were just calling games off. I think it was Watford Norwich with 2 hours notice. Then they weren't calling any off. Then they were. Then they weren't. Then now they are. With this one though, and this is not me just absolutely standing up for Liverpool. I've kind of looked through this as to see what's gone on, because there's been a timeline on it. And Lee, first thing, the switching of the legs is clearly something that, for me, that's been agreed between the two clubs and the EFL, because of the constraints they have with how many games they can fit in. You know, when you get to the end of February now, you're looking at Champions League, you're still in the FA Cup. The League Cup will just about be over, won't it, if you're in the final? And that looks like it's something that's been agreed. Liverpool's response to this has been a statement that said, we'd like to put on record our thanks to Arsenal for their help in all this. So obviously they've been in contact with Arsenal. They've been in contact with the league or the EFL over the last 48 hours. But I wanted it to go ahead. But when you don't have any registered goalkeepers, it just can't. And I heard what you said there about Karius and registering them. That may be a point, but I don't know if that was something that was looked into. What happened here with Liverpool, from what I can make out, is that they play Chelsea. They're missing a couple of players. We all know who they are, because Liverpool have been, you know yourself, they've been quite open as to who's been missing, including their manager and stuff like that. And I think it was yesterday, after the testing, it was reported that there was numerous more counts. You know, forget the lads that have gone in AFCON. That's irrelevant. They weren't going to play another game anyway. And Salah hasn't played in the League Cup this year anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. But Liverpool, from what I can make out, got these extra positives.
Yeah.
And then they went and they decided that they were going to close off the training ground themselves just to ensure the safety of everybody else. The problem you have, Lee, is that where Liverpool were used to be in Melwood and you had the academy on a separate site, this is all in one place in Kirby now. So your 23s, your first team, and your academy are all in situ in one place. So when you close one, they all have to go. The biggest thing on this is the goalkeepers, and the other thing is it's preparation of play. Apparently, what's in the rules is that you need a sufficient amount of time, i.e., an X amount of hours to prepare between every game. I think it might be something like 36 hours, right? And Liverpool haven't got that either. I think Liverpool would have liked to play the game. I genuinely do, because it's no advantage to Liverpool to not play this game. It's another week. It's another midweek that they're going to have to fill in. I know where Arsenal's frustrations are coming from. I get that, but I don't think it should be at Liverpool. That's just me saying that, but I understand where you are coming from. But when I look at it, the goalkeeper thing is the big thing for me. They've no registered goalkeepers, and you can't play them, because if you'd have told me this morning that Liverpool had 14 players, one was a goalkeeper, play the game. Absolutely play the game.
Yeah, somebody put a comment in a minute ago. There we go. There it is. Saying training ground is all one complex, so could easily have no kids available as well.
Yeah. So Liverpool were in Melwood. The academy and 23s used to play in Kirby. Last year, Liverpool saw Melwood move to a new complex, the AXA Training Centre in Kirby, where it's something Klopp has wanted since he's come to the club, where he wants them all in the one place. And he's got that. It's a 50 or 60 million pound facility now, but the problem there is that when you can't close off the first team and say to the rest of them, look, you keep training. You simply can't. Protocols are there with regards to what you have to do around player safety and stuff like that. But when all's said and done, I don't think I know most Liverpool fans wanted this game to be played, and would have played it with whatever they had. You know, you go back and you look at the time they had to play Villa in the FA Cup. I think Villa had the average age of Villa's team was about 17 at the time.
Didn't have a 14-year-old score against you.
Yeah, they had a young guy score. He opened the scoring, and Liverpool went on to win, I think, 3 or 4-1. And that was a ridiculous situation where Villa had players out. But that's going back to something again where it was a case of, we can't change anything for anyone. But then they will change it. You know how it works, Lee. They'll do something one week and they'll change it the next, and then they go back to what they originally had. Again, that's how they work. You know, we've seen how the Premier League have done with this. For me, since it started, people then point out the fact that Liverpool went and played Villa again, ironically, in a League Cup quarter-final, and nothing was moved for them. They were told to play that day, and they were playing in Qatar 24 hours later. And people realistically wanted Jurgen Klopp and his team to turn up there and get on a plane to go to Qatar and play in a World Club Cup. That's just more administrative thing. It's, not helping out each other. But let's be honest, what happens with Villa having to put out youngsters is more relevant to what's going on now. It absolutely is. But I think Liverpool would have liked to play and played the youngsters and taken their chance, and then went back to Anfield and see what way they stood in a week's time and tried to do something. Now we have to go to Anfield first and then go away. Arsenal might feel that that's a bit of a disadvantage. I'm not too sure. But look, we can all be tribal over it, but it's just a mess, Lee. That's really what it is. It's a mess because nobody wants to put a definitive on this. And it should have been done when Spurs and United closed down. They should have closed everything down for 2 weeks and put everybody in place and said, here's the rules.
Do you think, I disagree with that circuit breaker thing, because this is always going to be a thing. There's always going to be different variants that coming out every single we shut football down for 4 months, didn't kick a ball for 4 months, and here we are a year and a half later still cancelling games. So it's for me, you have to just try and push through it and just work around it. And I didn't know the full ins and outs of. I knew you had no goalkeepers, and then I was but I didn't know until I looked on the website a minute ago that the game had been changed to the first leg at your ground. I'm fuming about that, because I thought, we're playing all right. We're doing decent at the moment. You're fielding an under first team squad, which you do because the Champions League and league's more important. And I get that. But I feel like now we're going to Anfield. Last time we played you in this competition, I think it ended 5-5 at your ground.
It was a great game.
Oh, it was mad. Some of the goals, Origi scored a banger in that game. So didn't
Willock score a belter as well?
Yeah, Joe Willock.
Yeah.
And then you've done us on pens. So it's now we go to your ground first, and it's going to be a totally different setup for us than if we were playing you at home first. And it's for me, us a disadvantage. And I'm shocked because if Arsenal have agreed to that, which they're going to have to, I suppose,
They would have, yeah.
then I'm baffled as to how we've agreed to that, because that puts us at a disadvantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing is, like, if you look at the fixtures that are coming up for Liverpool, like that game on Sunday, I don't know if it'll go ahead. I think, the chance that Liverpool have some players back for this rearranged first leg now at Anfield next week, but Sunday could be a real issue because today is Wednesday, and this is where we've kind of confirmed how bad things are at Liverpool. If you give them 5 days, where they have to isolate and come back, how many of them players are going to isolate for 5 days and then play on a Sunday in a cup game? So I don't know how many are going to get back in time. The precautions taken by the club could mean that, players that were, negative and moved out, and we still don't have enough. For argument's sake, if there's 14 of them and one goalkeeper manages to come back, you can play on Sunday. But it's going to be similar, I think, next week. You will get a couple of players back for Liverpool. But with regards to the fourth leg being changed, I know where you're coming from completely. You always, you kind of get it in your mind, don't you? We're at home first and we do this, and you kind of get psyched up for what you want to do. It would have had to be agreed with Arsenal. The only thing I would say is that when you look at the amount of midweeks available between, say, now and the League Cup final when it's meant to go ahead, I'd say they're quite minimal. And remember, Liverpool have a game that they have to get in against Leeds as well. That would have been taken into consideration. So there's loads. I'd say loads was thrown up in the air and see what came back down. But the clubs, by the looks of it, have worked together and made an agreement. And I'd say the way Arsenal probably looked at it was, well, if we don't do that and we insist that we play the first leg at home, we're going to have to move that second leg. And where do we get it in? Where do we put it before we actually have to play a League Cup final? Because I think the Champions League comes back early February. So we're already 3-4 weeks away from that. We have to get a Leeds game in. There's FA Cup going to be in there. There's loads of stuff in there that's going to be an issue. And look, I know what you're saying about the circuit breaker, but my idea around stopping it for 2 weeks was to put something in place where everyone knew what was going on. To me, it's just it feels like for the last month, people are just running around scrambling. What are the rules for this? What are the protocols for that? What did the FA do? What did the Premier League do? What did the EFL do? Instead of saying, right, look, this is kicking off here, 2 weeks, everyone back into these bubbles that we've seen a year or 18 months ago, whatever it was. And these are the rules now. They're set in place. And trust me, after your 2 weeks, if your players are off watching the fucking darts or whatever they were doing during the week, and you have 10 players out and you can't fulfill that fixture, you're getting 3-0 put against you. Because we've given you ample opportunity, everybody in the league, an ample opportunity to take 14 days, get your house in order, get those bubbles in order, staying in hotels, wherever needs to be done, like was done a year ago. And that's where we're going to go. But at the moment, you're seeing a bit of a free-for-all. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that most clubs or some clubs haven't taken advantage in some way. But that's all down to the people that are looking after it. Like, it's, when the people at the top aren't very clear as to what you're meant to do, how are you meant to survive on that? Like, Klopp gets an awful lot of abuse over, he was moaning over Christmas. I said this earlier. What Klopp was saying over Christmas is that, look, we can play games. There's no problem playing games. But for every club in the league, could we do something for every club in the league where we say, look, we're not going to make you play 2 days there. You can make it 3 days. Let's move them all a day. And that's not to get any advantage. It's just so if you have players that if you 14 that are having to play on the 26th and 14 that are having to play on the 28th, letting them play on the 29th gives them a little bit of a break. It's better for everyone, and it's a better way of managing our way through this. The way it came across from Klopp for some people was, he's moaning about fixtures. Ironically, Liverpool end up not playing on Boxing Day because Leeds haven't got enough cases and have injuries. And then they go to Leicester, and it looks like Liverpool have never played football before in their life. When they turn up at Leicester. So that's where Klopp is coming from. It's not like Klopp says some stuff sometimes, and I go, that's a bit weird. But I knew exactly where he was coming from. He wanted everyone to get maybe just one extra day. All he was saying was play the 26th, 29th, and 1st. Just one extra day for everybody. It just helps everybody and maybe lets an injury clear up or recovery, and you get more players and less chance of cancellations because, Lee, COVID is being added in, other illnesses are being added in, injuries are being added in, you know. And
yeah, see, that's where I get an issue with it. Why are injuries involved? Like injuries shouldn't come into it. I know
because it's
obviously
available players.
available players thing,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like if Arsenal had, I don't know, 10 players out injured, well, you had it. Let's go back to the last season. You lost 6 games in a row or something at home.
Yeah.
You had, I think, 21 different centre back partnerships that season.
Yep.
You had more injuries than I think I've seen any other team in the living history of football have in a season. But your games weren't cancelled.
No.
Because that doesn't come into it, because we have to go and put Nat Phillips in. We'll have to go and get a lad and buy a lad in January from a lower league team, from Preston, I think it was. Yeah, we'll have to get him out the academy. We see it the other day with Everton at Chelsea. They literally had a C team out and the kid scored the goal. I mean, you'll never forget that at Stamford Bridge. And it's like, this is where I get the ump with it. At the start of the season, we had injuries. We had COVID cases against Brentford. We played the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, now further down the road, I'm not one to moan. I'm not like, you know me. I'm not sitting here moaning about other teams ever. Right? But it's like, if it's one rule for one team and one rule for another, that makes no sense. Why don't they just come out and say, this is the situation, everyone going forward, if it's X amount of cases added with injuries as well, and it can be an accumulation of both combined, then the game's off. But until they do that, it's a grey area for everyone. And everyone's like, well, we don't know how many cases you've got. Do they have to submit the copy of their test to the EFL or to the FA? Or can they just say...
They'd have to submit every day. My understanding is that there's testers at each training ground. They're independent to the club.
From the FA?
Yeah, they're independent to the club, but they're assigned to each club. That's my understanding. With regards to like the likes of Everton and stuff like that, what they look at is how many players have you got registered? Okay, so you have 25 players registered for the Premier League. You don't have to have players from the 23s registered to play in the Premier League if you need them. Okay, but what they're saying is that if you have 45 players, and this is where I was coming from, I was like, if you have 45 players, how are you getting this game called off? How are you getting this game called off? You know, because there's no way you can put out a squad. That was my take on it, and it has been for a long time. But you just said it. How is it one rule for one and one rule for the other? It's not even that. There's no transparency from one situation to the next. There's no transparency as to who. Look, I'm not asking United, Spurs, Arsenal, anybody to come out and give me a detailed list as to who has COVID, who was injured, and who's ill, has some other illness. I'm not asking for that. But at least come out and give me numbers. And not just me, everybody, because then it stops me and you sitting here going, oh, why is that happening? And what, like, because it'd be very clear if I come on here and said, Lee, I have the numbers here in front of me. There's 24 cases in the Liverpool first team squad and staff, okay? There's X amount in the 23s. And because of that, they've closed it down because, that facility has to be closed. It's like any work facility. If I go to work today and there's 20 of us in there and 6 of us have it, the chances are they're closing it down because they're not putting the other 14 at risk. And that's why I thought the 2-week break would be good. Not only to give teams a chance to reassess, but a chance for the Premier League, 2 fucking weeks for the Premier League to put something together, right? Do something and give us some sort of protocol as to what way this is going to which way this is going to go. With regards to Arsenal at the start of the season, no doubt he had COVID cases. I think City suffered as well at the start of the season with COVID cases. But when it came down to it, they were probably looking going, well, you have a 25-man squad, you've 4 out, you've 21 left. And that's the way they were looking at it. But now it doesn't seem to be that. And that's why, in my opinion, always was, all right, we've 3 out. Like, I never thought the Chelsea game wouldn't go ahead because we 3 out. No way. I didn't think tomorrow's game would not go ahead. If it was 6, I never thought it'd go ahead. But what you've seen is that you had 3 or 4 confirmed. Then it ended up going up to 8 or 9 with goalkeepers and I think some goalkeeping staff. And then it got worse and worse. And like it's being called an extreme outbreak at the facility. And of course, you'll hear people going, well, Klopp said he'd never sign an unvaccinated player. And Klopp said this and that. And I'm kind of going, no. That's completely fucking different. If you want to be vaccinated, vaccinate yourself. If you don't, you don't. The chances are every single member of the staff, player or backroom staff that have a positive at Liverpool are most definitely sitting at home, and the chance of them having any symptoms are probably low. They're not suffering, but they could probably go out and play a game of football, but because of the procedures, they cannot be there. And it's not perfect. I think it's a mess. I don't think it's fair on Liverpool. I don't think it's fair on Arsenal. I don't think it's fair on supporters of both clubs, because you get fans from all over London or wherever part of England wanting to go and support Arsenal at the not the Etihad, the Emirates, and you will get
I'm on loan to the Etihad this
what?
season. I'm on loan to the Etihad this season.
Okay,
It is the Emirates.
and you'll have I think Liverpool might have about 7,000 tickets. Would they have for that game tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'd
About
imagine so.
10%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Sunderland had 5,000.
Yeah, so
But I'd imagine you'd get more if I'm honest.
So 5,000-6,000 Liverpool fans going to travel from Liverpool and other parts of the country to make their way to London. So it's not fair on them either. The only saving grace is that they've made a call on this on Wednesday lunchtime as opposed to Thursday morning or Thursday lunchtime when a lot of people will be boarding trains and heading to London. So
or on the coast.
It's just not it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But it is what it is. And I think we need at times to look at what's going on. It is a pandemic. It's still there, whether you agree with it or you don't. And clubs are definitely trying to work together. And when the facts are actually given out to you, take them and look at them. Because Liverpool have been quite transparent on that fact. So I will give that to them.
No, listen, there's 800 people nearly watching this. Make sure you are subscribed. I've put Gav's link in the title as well. So just click on that. Touching 12K subs as well, right? 11.8.
Yeah, we're just tossing around. I think we're 11. We don't really look. We just come on, have a good time, drink cans, and then head off.
That's
usually the protocol for our channel.
That's what we do as well. Same.
Yeah. It's a bit too early for me. I have a 2-year-old child here. I'm trying to mind. But look, I thought I'd drop on because, I've seen an awful lot from Arsenal fans today upset. And I've seen some Liverpool fans kind of going, what are you upset for? And the funny thing is, when you look at it, both sets of supporters have rights. All supporters, I think, have rights to be upset over this. Not only because the game's being called off, but the way it's being handled, I think, it's an absolute joke. It really is.
That's the thing. Like, you don't necessarily need to know the names of the players that have got it or been tested positive for it. It's just the amount of players or staff, because then it's bang, nipped in the bud. They can't field the team. And like a lot of people are saying that all of your registered goalkeepers, like you've said, are all out. If that's the case, then for me, I'd just go, pick a kid out the academy then. Yeah, but at the same time, if
you see, you could pick a kid out of an academy, okay, and you could say, right, I don't think he needs to be registered, right, because he can play. When he's in the academy, he can play, right. But even if he needed to be registered, I think, as you said earlier, could the EFL not do something and let him be registered? I think that can be done, but it goes back then to where they are training, right? They've been removed from training on, I would say, the advice of following discussions with maybe the Premier League and the EFL. That decision, although made by Liverpool originally, has been backed up by, the FA or the Premier League or the EFL have said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Our medical experts just come in and go, get them all out. The second thing is that even if it came back tomorrow that Liverpool had 17 players available, they were all 23s, they were all 18s. There's a minimum amount of time that you must prepare for a game. You have to be allowed to prepare. It's called sufficient
recovery time or something.
Yeah, sufficient preparation time or something along that line in the rules. And Liverpool don't have it because of what's happened yesterday.
Your FA Youth Cup game has been called off as well. Somebody else as well. Big up to Geordie Toon for Life, has said that you can't even mix bubbles inside your own club.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, right? So if you can't mix bubbles in your own club, so you've got your youth set up and then you've got the first team. If you can't mix bubbles, then how are players from the youth team for Chelsea, for example, the other day playing against Brentford? Because they've now mixed bubbles.
Yeah, I think what happens there is that they will put players into bubbles even within the first team squad. So I've seen footage of Liverpool training. Dermot asked how do I feel about the tax on cans. Yeah, they've put a tax on a minimum tax on cans in Ireland, and I'm just going to go up the north and buy them, to be honest. But up to Newry and get all your cans. That's the best thing to do. But what I've seen footage through this pandemic where you'll see Liverpool players and they're sitting separately at tables, 4 per table, and that's probably their mini bubble within that. I think what happens is if you want to change a bubble, what you need to do is they need to be tested and they need to be okayed to be brought into a squad and mix. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't be a case of Klopp standing on the first team training ground looking over and going, oh, he looks good, bring him in and play with us and bring him in
Yeah,
for
but
lunch. I
even
don't
that in itself,
think that can be done.
right? Apparently, it could take up to 2 weeks to show signs of symptoms and test positive potentially. Yeah. So even if they did a test and brought him in, let's say they said, I want him in the training, but we'll test him 3 days straight and he'll be fine. Well, you still got another 11 days where he might not be fine. Now he could have infected the whole team.
But I think what would happen is if he'd be brought in negative, if he'd be brought in negative, we're probably in a mini bubble of 4. So if he was to test positive in 5 days later, you would only be affecting 3 players as opposed to him sitting at a table having lunch with 20 players. They try to minimize it as much as they can. It's a logistical nightmare. That's all it is. And I personally don't think it's helped by the people in charge that are meant to overlook this and steer clubs in the right direction. And not only that, put rules in place and go, listen, they're the rules. Just stand up and make a fucking decision. That's all I'm asking for. Stand up and make a decision. And if that means that we all can't watch a game of football for a month, but we know when it comes back that it's going to play. And if it doesn't play, the teams are just getting deducted points. It's as simple as that. They'll all know the rules. They'll all know we all starting an even footing here. But it's not going to be like that. And if this is going to continue on, like we think we're into the new year and I'll get the League Cup out of the way. And this is going to roll into the Champions League, league games, FA Cup games. It's going to go everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It's going to affect. So for me, the chances of the league finishing on whatever date in May, I think it's going to be tough because I think there's about 20 games to be rearranged already. And if it falls the wrong way and Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, if any of them 4 have to pull out of a league game or 2, United have already had a couple. Or if they have another couple, they've no more midweeks unless they get knocked out of Europe. It's simple as that. There's no midweeks left.
Yeah, and the thing is, the season's got to start early because of the World Cup being in December.
Correct.
Or November, whenever it is.
It's the end of November. I think November the 13th will be the last Premier League game, and then 2 weeks later the World Cup starts, finishes around I think we're watching the final Christmas Day. And then I think 4 days later the Premier League comes back. So basically from now until May next year, there's non-stop football. But there's only so many weeks in the year. There's only so many Saturdays and Wednesdays. You will end up, I guarantee you'll end up with a club at the end of the season that will have 5 games in about 12 days.
Oh, 100%, mate. We've got 4 in 9 days now.
Yeah. And like if Liverpool go deep in the Champions League, or City, or Chelsea, or United, and they have any of this problem with regards to the league, if they've any games called off in the league, the chance of them having games called off in the Champions League are quite high because it's usually Sunday, Wednesday, isn't it? Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday. So if you have something called off on a Saturday, to make a recovery for that Wednesday is going to be, the chance of it small. That throws the Champions League out. And then where do you put the Champions League? Champions League is usually the last game of the whole season, isn't it?
Yeah. It's normally the last final. Yeah,
and you have to put that out. And then you have players that are going to literally finish the season, have about 3 hours off, and then they start another season because they were woke up to playing guitar. It's an absolute mess. But again, me and you can argue this till the cows come home, Lee, but at the end of the day, nobody in power is standing up and making a definitive decision on this. And that's probably down to, I don't know if they're inept. I don't know if it's because of TV. I don't know if it's because of UEFA, FIFA, whatever it might be, but nobody's making a decision here.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. There's no transparency, and it's like it seems like everything's cloak and dagger, doesn't it? Like, and that comes back to sponsors, to money, to the FIFA, UEFA, the EFL, the Premier League, the FA. It's a multi-billion-pound business, each and every one of them. Yeah, and then collectively, it's probably touching trillions.
Yeah,
like over the whole global sphere of football. It's probably over that, isn't it? But it's like all fans want to know is, why is the game off? How many cases? End of. Cool.
Yeah.
Now we're going to play it next week or the week after.
But I think this instance has been fairly clear with regards to the cases.
Well, no goalkeepers is fair.
No goalkeeper stuff. That's all you really have to say. If you say that, it's everything else is irrelevant. But I think Liverpool have been quite open with regards to players that have missed Leicester, players that have missed Chelsea. Manager has missed. The assistant manager now has it as well. I think one of the tea ladies was due to take charge at the Emirates tomorrow night. But they've been quite open with it, and that's all you can be. But even when they're open with it, they're being hamstrung because they can't really say too much at the same time, because the people that are running it aren't saying anything. So you know, if Liverpool come out and said, well, we have this amount of cases and we have that injured and we've that, that's going to open up another kind of one, because me and you'll be sitting here going, yeah, but all right, you've injuries and illnesses, but you've only have fucking 9 COVID cases. You know, Brendan Rodgers came out the other week and said, I have X amount of COVID, I have X amount of illness, I have X amount of injury, and some of them injuries are COVID related because these players had to play to cover the COVID cases. That's the point he made, and I kind of was flabbergasted by that. But when you actually look at it, that's exactly what's happening now. They're just adding it up, you know. And let's be honest about it, Lee. If Arsenal turned around tomorrow and said, we have 10 cases, and they said, with you 15 left, what's to stop Mikel Arteta saying to 3 of them, I want you to come in here tomorrow and I want you to go straight to the physio room and you're injured?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I have a back injury. Nobody can tell you don't have a back injury. Nobody.
Yeah, and the thing is, nobody can say, well, we want an independent medical staff to come in.
No,
and clarify, because they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. And yeah, you're right. And this is the thing. It's like, I think, I'm not saying that clubs are doing that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these clubs are saying, yeah, fuck that. We've got way too many games. Let's have a little rest period and then we can kick on for the end of the season. Yes, we'll have to get them games fitted in, but teams that are not in Europe, like Burnley, for example, you know, Burnley have got 3 or 4 games in hand or something, or did have the other day.
Yeah.
It's like they've had a nice little Christmas break that has set them instead for going into the final part of the season. Now, I'm not saying that they're doing that, by the way, before any Burnley fans, if there is any, come and kick off on me. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit if that is happening.
No, listen, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I think you will probably get it where if there's 2 players that are nursing niggles, as they say, you know, don't get me wrong, if you have to send 8 fellas into the physio room, you're kind of going, lads, we're taking the piss here. We can't go out with 8 lads have back injuries, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But that's the thing. If we had transparency in all this, we wouldn't having this argument. We'd know who's out. I'm not asking for names, but just give us, you know, as I said a couple of weeks ago, if a club comes out and says, listen, 10 players that were involved in our match day squads over the last fortnight have COVID, you could say, right, that's fine. Because if you look back at the squads, they were the same 2 squads. So it's the same fucking 19 players that they've used. So now they've only 9 of those left. Okay. And throw 6 in on top of that. Because they're players that wouldn't be in the match day squad. That leaves them 15. But they actually have 2 suspended and they have 2 injured after that game the other day. Then you know, it's straight up, it's fine. Do you know the sort of way? But when you start going on about 23s and academies and stuff like that, then it becomes a whole new fucking ball game, an absolute whole new ball game. And you know, it's all about players that are registered for Premier League. And I don't think you need to register a 23s player to play in the Premier League. I think they can just come in when you feel like.
Yeah, any youth team player can get straight in.
You can come in, but it's all over the place, and we'll be having loads more conversations like this, I think, over the next couple of months, because again, we'll be sitting here and we'll be trying to work out numbers rather than just having numbers in front of us. Not names, just numbers, and we can all go, yeah. And like you said, you know, the number has exceeded 14 games off. Simple. Or go back to a 2-week break, and listen, it's up to you to keep your players safe, and it's up to you to look after them. And if you don't, we're just going to write off games. Simple as that. But then again, you probably end up with a queue around the corner at Cass, wouldn't you? And they'd be all in court come the end of the season. So it's a hard one to work out, but I still think if there was a definite protocol from the top, it would be a hell of a lot easier.
Oh, 100%. Listen, make sure you are subscribing to Gav's channel. It's in the title. Let's talk about your club. 2-0 up at Chelsea the other day.
Yeah. I didn't want to get into this. I'm meant to be gone now.
Oh, you want to go, yeah?
No. 2-0 up against Chelsea. Never in control of the game, Lee, for me. You know, I think Chelsea have an early chance. Liverpool have a couple of chances. Mane's got some abuse for his form this season. He hasn't been on top form, but I think he's the 4th top scorer in the league. It's just his overall game doesn't look as sharp or as quick. But this is a guy that's played every game that he's possibly could over probably 5 years since he signed for Liverpool. Since he made his debut at Arsenal, actually. And never really in control. Mane gets a good goal. Salah is just brilliant. You know, you give him that much room, one-on-one running at you, you're in trouble. Keeper wasn't great. But Chelsea got a good goal back, and the second one infuriated me because I don't like, people would say, oh, he's not this good and he's not that good, and I'm kind of going, no, if you apply yourself, you don't concede them goals, especially the second one. If you apply yourself, there was too much panic when in the lead up to that goal. Fellas randomly heading the ball in places, and Rudiger wins a good challenge, and I think it's Jota, and it breaks for Kante, who's never that far forward in that position, and hooks it on. Henderson doesn't get back. Alexander-Arnold's out of position. Van Dijk doesn't do enough to get to him. Keeper can't really be blamed. And it's 2-2. And the second half, we probably have the better chances, where they have more of the ball and more territory. We have the better chances. But it's one of those, you go 2-0 up, you expect to win the game, but we just never had control of it. Our midfield never got control of it, because I expected us to come out against Chelsea and either make it a really, really fast game where it's end to end and they run out of pace because they looked out on their feet against Brighton, or you get three lads in midfield that are just going to pass the ball all day. And I think that's where they might have missed Thiago, because Thiago's the sort of fella that just gets his foot on it and just goes, I'll drop a shoulder and I'll give it to a fullback and I'll get it back, and I'll make Chelsea work really hard to get close to this, and they would have run out of legs. But Chelsea kind of got a pep in their step second half, because or when they get that goal, because they knew Liverpool hadn't got control of the game. If Liverpool had a bit more control of the game, they would have won it. But that's the way it goes. Missed a penalty away at Leicester, and would have went on to win comfortably, and then get whacked by a sucker punch. That's the form you go through.
Do you still think you can claw that lead back from Man City? Do you think, listen, Liverpool, one thing you always get with Liverpool under Klopp especially, you're never giving up. You've got that Fergie Man United era mentality. The amount of late goals you score it's no coincidence that you're doing that. Do you think you can claw that back, even with, I know that it's only a couple of games that Mane and Salah miss, but they are, especially Salah, he is a massive, massive miss. I mean,
he's the best player in the world.
It's mad. So the goal he scored at the weekend as well, just a little shimmy, and he sent him, and that little split second, got him that goal. And it's
and the keeper was poor, but if you actually look at it back, the keeper's literally just about to set himself, and he just bashes it past him. It's just that millisecond where he's just, when the keeper's having a little thought process, he's banging it in. If he waits another quarter of a second, the keeper's set and makes a save. Can they claw it back? I never give it up. I'll never give it up until it's mathematically impossible. City are on some run, but I've said it for ages. City are a cheat code and are playing a different game to the rest. That might change with what's happening in Newcastle over the next couple of years. But the way I look at it is, they're 11 points off City. They have a game in hand, which is Leeds. If you get that to 8, you'd have to beat them at the Etihad, which would make it 5 with about 16 league games left, 15 league games left. If you offered me 5 points after playing City, after City with 15 goals, I'd have it. I'm not saying I'd back Liverpool 100%, but I think they have a real chance. No one else is going near them, by the way. It's us or nobody, and that's how City ran away with it last year, because as soon as they seen us falter with 21 different centre-half partnerships, most of which was our midfield.
Watch as well.
You have to keep them close. But I think what you need to do with City is, and it's a big ask, is you need to win your game in hand. You need to beat them at the Etihad, and then you need them to make 1 or 2 slips. But Liverpool have to be nigh on perfect from here on in. I don't think they will be, but I don't think City will be either. But it'll all come down to whoever makes the next mistake. If City were to lose, say, at the weekend or the next league game, and Liverpool were to win, and they got it down to 5 and had to go to City, then it's game on. It's whoever makes the next mistake and whoever looks after their business.
The thing is, Man City have played all of the better teams in the league away from home. And I think that's a massive, massive advantage for them.
I think they're more liable to be beaten at home, though.
Say again?
I think they're more liable to be beaten at home.
Oh, I don't know. Crystal Palace were kind of comfortable when they beat them. They beat them 2-0, didn't they? And the only other game
City throw one in, when City throw one in, they usually do it at home. Don't they do it with the Leeds last year? I think, when it comes down to Liverpool versus City, the only advantage Liverpool have is probably the home ground, and Anfield just absolutely terrify City at times. But I wouldn't put it beyond Liverpool, but it's going to be very difficult. With the squad they have, the money they have, I think they'll add something in January. The only saving grace is if they're really fancying themselves for the Champions League and take their eye off it a little bit. No one's better than to come after them than Liverpool because they're terrified of Liverpool. I genuinely believe that. If it was Arsenal chasing them, if it was,
they'd just be like, whatever.
if it was United, even Chelsea, I think they just go, we have enough. But listen, if we walked out of the Etihad with a dozen games to go, right, and it was down to 2 points because we've just beaten them there, strap yourselves in because these two teams, we've seen it in 18-19, these two teams will go absolutely hammer and tongs.
That's the thing. You're the only other team in that league other than City that can go on 11 straight wins, 12 straight wins, 13 straight wins. No other team can do that. Chelsea are good. Yeah, and they are good, but I feel like they're not quite that level yet. Yeah, and that I showed this season. I think they'll finish third, Chelsea, but I think City will walk it. I think that I still see you having a slip up somewhere.
Yeah, and possibly, yeah.
The reason I think you'll have a slip up is because what you just said about Sadio Mane. I don't think he's as clinical in front of goal as he was a couple of seasons ago. And then the last season, he was missing so many big chances. This season, I've seen him. It's almost like he's overthinking it rather than just doing natural like he used to. It's like he's overthinking it. Yeah. Whereas when you see Salah in them positions, bang, it's a goal. Like even if he ain't in a clear-cut position, as soon as he gets the ball, you're up off your seat. You're like, he's going to do something. Yeah, like that one where he chipped Mendy. I mean, if that goes in, I mean,
it was brilliant. And you know what? He hits it too well. If he doesn't hit that quite as well and kind of skies it a bit, it's in the top corner. He just hits it too pure. But look, it's just the way it is. But I'll say it now: if City make the next mistake and Liverpool capitalise and go to the Etihad and win there's a right chance. If Liverpool make the next mistake, forget about it.
100%. Very, very quickly before we wrap this up, I know you've probably got a guy as well. I know you had a mad therapy session with me on Arteta quite a while back.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on Arteta now? Are you still riding for Arteta? Like, yes, he can be the man.
Well, I never rode the whole Arteta can be the man horse. I think the Aubameyang thing is huge. I think it's huge for the team, and I think it's huge for him because when we spoke about Arteta, it was all about him being a number 2 at City and working under Pep and how much responsibility did he have. And you see in the start of the season, they lose 3 on the bounce at the start of the season, and they look all over the place. They look lost. I'm still not as big as fan. I'm going to be honest about it. But I think he has some good players at his disposal. We've said this already, the likes of Smith Rowe and Saka and stuff like that. But do you know what? I'd nearly give him the benefit of the doubt, but I don't care what he fucking does. But what I'd like to see is I'd like to see an Arsenal side go away to a top 4 side and beat them.
Yeah.
Right. And what I'm not even top 4 side. I want Arsenal to go and beat Chelsea, Liverpool, or City away. Now, people will tell you that City played really well against City the other day, and they did. But City weren't the City that you're used to. It wasn't a kind of, toe-to-toe that you'd see with Liverpool and see who comes out on top. Arsenal really took advantage of City being quite poor, in my opinion, but still come out winners, fortunately, in their case. That's what I want to see from them, because I still think there's a bit of flat-track bullying them, where they look really good against A, B, and C, but when they come up against 1, 2, and 3, they don't, if you get me. There is progression there. Christopher Bowen said, Gav said he never said he didn't like him, just didn't rate his style. Yeah, I don't think his style is anything new or anything like mind-blowing. But I think, going back to Aubameyang, he's shown a bit of steel there. And I think he's shown a commitment to what he wants to be, because when they were going on about, he passes it out from the back, everybody fucking passes it out from the back. So don't give me that, right? But he was doing it, and he was bringing players in and fitting them in, right? Basically fitting the team or the tactics around these players. Now he's not. Now he's just all Aubameyang. Listen, you go out and get as many tattoos as you want, or whatever you were up to. Good luck. And I'll play Smith Rowe and I'll play Saka, and Lacazette is back in favour. Martinelli is a cracking player. But even you can see they're a bit more solid in midfield, because they're not hanging on to players that are just there because they're players and they don't fit a system. He's basically gone, this is my system, this is the way I play, and if you fit, you fit, and if you don't, you don't. And you have to give kudos to him for that. But at the same time, he needs to go. He won't go away and win at Liverpool because he's been beaten there. He's been beaten away at City. Have they gone away to Chelsea?
No, played them at home this season. I think we actually beat them last season at Chelsea.
Right. Well, he needs to go. I think he needs to go. His
We've lost
next
to
progression.
United away this season.
Yeah, I think his next progression is he needs to go away and not even bash a team. Even if he went away to Chelsea and looked really solid and got a 2-0 win, you go, yeah, that's a real turning point. But like he was under massive pressure. He's not under so much pressure now. But I think the pressure will come to get top 4 when you look at what's around them. You know, Spurs are progressing well under Conte, you have to say. They look a different unit altogether. West Ham are still up there. You know, I think Liverpool, Chelsea, and City will take the other 3 spots. But as Arsenal looking around at City or at United, who are in a mess, and Spurs, who've changed manager again, I think it's the pressure will come. And if they don't make top 4, I think Liverpool will be knocking on the door for that Saka fella, by the way.
Saka or Martinelli. Klopp rates Martinelli as well.
But I think they pushed hard for Saka before he signed the contract. And I think if they don't make top 4, Saka will be looking at A, the competitions he's playing for Arsenal, and B, his international future. And I think Liverpool will bang heavy on that door.
Where would you put him left for Mane, left side? Because he ain't getting in over Salah.
Saka?
Yeah,
I put him down the left side for Liverpool. Yeah, I would.
That's interesting. Very interesting. And this is, I just want to read this comment very quickly. He's doing amazing things with what he's working with. They're obviously players that are talented like Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, but they're still not good enough to challenge. This is the thing. People are saying that he's doing well with what he's working with. He's chose to work with this. We've spent £250 million under this manager, and people are just giving him a pass. Like, when does it get to the point where we can actively judge this manager? Any other manager that spent £250 million would have been judged already. But because he's turned it into a kid project, a youth project, it kind of buys him another God knows how many years. And it's like, we're Arsenal Football Club, the third biggest club in the country. I think people have forgotten that.
But I think you have to look at progression as well. Like, where do you finish last season?
8th.
So you don't make Europe, is that correct?
Yep, first time for 26 years.
Okay, so I don't know if 6th and a Europa League spot is progression for Arsenal, right? At the start of the season.
Our fans would see that as progression.
Right. I don't know, with half a season to go and where you sit in the league and what teams you have around you, i.e. Spurs, West Ham, United. I don't see that as progression. It's a bit like the guys that told you that Brendan Rodgers is brilliant, despite the fact that in 1920 he takes 23 points from 19 games and fails to make the top 4, and people tell you he overachieved. You know, like, if you take 19 points from 23, even if that's 6 wins and a draw, right? Out of 19 games, you've lost 12. If I go to work 7 days out of 19, I'm getting sacked. Simple as that. Do you know what I mean? So I think, do you know what? I'd love to see Arsenal have a go at top 4 just to see how he gets on. But I think right now, at the start of the season, you probably go, if they can get 5th or 6th and progress and start to make not to make the squad look his own, because it is his own, but start to shape it the way he wants and show certain abilities, i.e. what he's done with Aubameyang, you go fine. But now you have to be looking at top 4. There's no other. And I include Tottenham and United and West Ham in that. They all have to be looking at top 4 now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and this is the thing. We're competing with West Ham, Man United, and Tottenham right now for that 4th spot. When you look at West Ham, you say, okay, their squad's not as good as the other 3. That would be their downfall. Plus,
least pressure, though.
Yeah, well, listen, they're doing great. Since
they've the least pressure under anyone, they just go out and play football every week.
Yeah, true, but their squad will be the downfall because they're in Europe and they're out of the group. They're in the last 16. And I feel like I was just saying this with Corey, like Corey said it to me on Matisse's channel. He said, if we get down to the final stages of that competition, he's going all out for that. Yeah, he won't go for top 4. He'll go all out for the trophy.
Yeah, so Klopp done it. Klopp done it in his 4th season. He threw all his eggs in the basket of the Europa League and got beaten in the final and finished 8th.
Sturridge score a banger in that game outside.
Made it 1-0, and then Moreno just decided he didn't want to play football after half time. And
then against Unai Emery, Sevilla.
Yeah, Sevilla. Liverpool 1-0 up at half time, coasting. And Moreno just literally decided he wasn't playing football anymore. And we get beaten 3-1, I think, in the end. But Klopp done it and threw it all. But then the pressure came the following season, in 17-18, to absolutely make top 4. And I think we do it on the last day of the season at home to Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
when Alden opens the scoring and we end up beating them handy. But there was huge pressure on to do it then. And then you see where you go from there. 18, 19, Liverpool are in the Champions League final. You know what I mean? Or sorry, 17, 18, they're in the Champions League final against Real Madrid. They win it the following year and win the league the year after that. And that's progression.
And you finished a point behind Man City as well, like in one of them league campaigns as well. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you look at what Klopp's done in terms of getting to finals and moving that club forward every season, and this is why I get the ump with.
And the year to win the European Cup, they put 97 points on the board.
Yeah, 97 points.
And don't win it.
And that's why I get the ump, because we finished 8th and we won the FA Cup. Then we finished 8th again and got dumped out of the Europa League by our former manager, which was just embarrassing. That should have been a sackable offence in itself. And then this season, we're currently 4th. But if Spurs beat us next weekend, they're above us.
Yeah, they've
and they've got 2 games in hand, which is why I think they've got the best manager. I don't think they've got a better squad than United, but they're playing better. I don't think their squad's necessarily is better than ours.
They're getting the bounce off Conte. What'll happen with Conte is what happens with most of the time. He'll cry for money, and if he doesn't get enough, he'll cry some more, and then it'll turn out that it'll affect the players, and you'll see players starting to give in. You know, the sort of way. They're all trying to impress him because they know him going in there. They know he's only taking the job because he's being promised X amount of money. So all them players are giving everything they can to try stay. He turns down the Spurs job. He turns down the Spurs job in the summer, along with Fonseca and others, and they give Nuno Espirito Santo the job.
That's why I'm pissed off though, Gav, because as soon as we get wind that he's going to Tottenham, if we were a big club, we would be phoning him up saying, "Fuck Tottenham, mate! You're coming to Arsenal. You're coming to Arsenal." If he's going to Tottenham, he's signing for Arsenal. Let's be real. Right, bigger club, more money to spend, better squad of players. You've got Aubameyang, one of the most prolific strikers in Europe for the last 7-8 years, that's been dumped out on the left wing. Like, I mean, that in itself is fucking ridiculous. I can see why Aubameyang's fucking like. We don't know the ins and outs with Aubameyang because this manager hung him out to dry without hanging him out to dry. Like,
yeah, but this was a period where he was playing left wing. Gary Neville was telling you every week he was the best defensive left winger he'd seen in the league because he ran up and down a few times.
Listen, Gary Neville said that Arsene Wenger was a genius because he was paying the stadium off and it still had 20 years to go.
Yeah, but Gary Neville caused Harry Kane to try leave Spurs for Man City and fueled all that, and then gave out because Lukaku done a similar interview in Italy. So I pay no attention to Gary Neville, to be perfectly honest. But look, on Arsenal, you know me, and people always think I'm an Arsenal fan because I love talking about them. But no, they're just somebody that I've said it before. When I was growing up, I started watching football in the mid-'80s, and it was always, for me, it was always Liverpool, Arsenal and United. They were the 3 biggest clubs. The most kind of stature, history around them, mystique, I suppose. And even now to this day, despite them not being a Highbury and the whole George Graham or Arsene Wenger thing is gone, and the Henri Vieira days are gone, or whatever it might be, there's still somebody that I look out for. Not that I look out at the results every week, I just look as to what's going on at Arsenal. You know, it's the same way as if I was a fucking Sheffield Wednesday supporter, I'd be looking going, what's going on in Sheffield United, or what's going on at someone of the air kind of level, the sort of way. It's just something that gets in your head from very young as to what teams are actually interest you, because they were rivals when you start watching, Arsenal robbing titles or Anfield in '89 and stuff like that. The sort of way. So they're definitely.
Blame John Barnes, mate. Don't blame anyone else.
Listen, one of our lads, if you mention this to him, has a breakdown. He's like, "I'll never forgive John Barnes for not bringing that ball into the corner ever." And he literally goes into cold sweats when you talk to him about it. But to be honest with you, '89, the league title didn't matter. And that's not a slight on Arsenal. What went on weeks previous to that is way more important. But it's just one of those. But it's just Arsenal are things. We talk regularly, and I love talking to you. And they are a club that interests me. But the pressure's on him. And it's on him because he's doing a decent job at the moment. But the pressure's most definitely on there because I think you'll struggle to honestly find an Arsenal fan that wouldn't turn around now and say top 4 has to be the target. I think if you get an Arsenal fan to tell you, if we done 6 to be fine, I think
you're underestimating the state of our fan base, mate, if I'm honest. Yeah, because I think if we finish 6th, this lot will have street parties. Like, honestly.
For me, from the outside looking in, the position they're in, the way they have them players starting to play and playing for a while, now. And the size of a club Arsenal are, regardless of who they're playing up against, you can't do that. If I done that with Man City, I just give up to start every August and go, well, look at that, no point. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of disregard who you're up against. You need to look at who are we, where are we, and
What are
where
we doing
should
and
we,
where we
where
go?
do we want to go? And for me, Arsenal are huge, always have been. And I'm not blowing smoke up Arsenal's arse because I'm on an Arsenal channel, because I'll lash Arsenal if I have to. But they're a huge club. They're in a really good position. They have faltering teams around them, and they should absolutely be looking nowhere else but fourth position. And higher if possible. I don't think they get higher.
No, mate, I totally agree. I said it all summer. Arsenal should be aiming for a title this season, and people were laughing at me. Yeah, and it was like, I'll say this, yeah, like if we hadn't hired Arteta and we'd hired Conte and gave him £250 million, which is Arteta's spend so far, we'd be in the title race. And that's why I get so angry with it, because you give Conte £250 million, we wouldn't have half the players here that we've got, and we would be competing. We wouldn't win it, but we'd be competing, and that's all I want to see is my team compete for a title.
No, that's fair.
And I feel
That's
like
fair.
you look
But I think you have to look at the progression. You have to look at, it's a bit of carrot and stick, isn't it? Like if we're sitting here in 6 months' time and you say to me, we got fourth, right? And I go, yeah, well, fair play, because you played really well, and look at what's going on at United, and I've just said don't compare to other sides, but when you get to the end, you nearly look at it as taking advantage of what's going on at the others, and that's what you can't look and go, oh, but it's Manchester United. You don't look at that. You just look and go, we're ahead of them, and we're as good as them. We have to go and do it. That's what your outlook has to be. But if we're sitting here in 6 months and you say to me, we got fourth place, right? And you're happy with that. You would be happy with that, I know you would be, right? But then when I meet you next week for a drink, I'll say to you, well, I don't give a fuck that you got fourth. What are you going to do now? And that's when the pressure goes on again.
But that's the problem with our
and that's what Klopp has dealt with really well.
Because we've had Wenger going fourth. The mentality of our fans, unfortunately, Gav, is fourth is the title, basically, to our fans.
Yeah.
It's not let's go and win a title. Like every time you lose a game and it's your first loss of the season, our fans come out the woodwork and start giving it is yours gold. Right? Yeah. Not easy, is it, to go invincible? I remember when you lost to Watford and Ibrahim Sarr, I think it was, scored the goal. Yeah. And they battered you that day. But our fans all over social media is yours gold. So on that basis, our fan base hold Arsenal to a title-winning standard. Right? So why am I so hated on for being negative for wanting more titles?
Well, Arsenal do go unbeaten in 2003-4, isn't it?
18 years. I was 22, Gav. Now look at the state of me. I'm 40 this year.
Yeah, so am I, mate. And I can remember it well, but they failed to win probably 40% of their games. They draw 12.
12 draws, yeah.
12 draws. So it's, I think Liverpool end up losing. Well, Liverpool give up. They're on the drink for the last 6 games.
The following season, Chelsea actually got more points.
Yeah.
So are they
City have done 100.
Yeah, and then City done 100. You've done 97. Yeah.
And we've done 99 as well.
Yeah, we done 90, I think. I think it was 90.
We done 99 and we had the League One with 7 games to go and we just stopped playing football.
Yeah.
If COVID hadn't happened, I think Liverpool could have done, and genuinely could have done 110 points.
Oh, genuinely. Comfortably. Yeah, comfortably. 100%. And like them 2 seasons or 2.5 seasons or whatever it was, yeah, when you and City, like, mate, that was just phenomenal, man. Because it was every week and you were playing at different times,
Yeah.
And it was just like
City one following the other. Yeah.
Now Liverpool gone out and gone 5-0.
I remember watching City at Burnley, and I was like, Burnley can't surely do something here. And then I think Aguero scores in a 1-0. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And you just knew it just kept getting less games and less games and less games. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was, by the way.
But that was ridiculous football. But look, there's a long way to go in this season. There's loads of targets for all sorts of clubs. But Liverpool, just like Trent said it the other day, we haven't been at our best. But we just have to make our main focus winning as many games as possible. And if they slip up, they slip up. If they don't, they don't. And that's just the way. 100%. That's the proper attitude to have. With regards to Arsenal, though, you have to be looking at that top 4. Like if you look at where Leicester were when they don't make top 4, I'd say it's probably a similar position to where you are now, if not a slightly bit better, and they don't make it. Arsenal should absolutely be looking at it. And I know Spurs have games in hand. I think they might go 2 points clear them if they win the games in hand and stuff like that. But Arsenal should absolutely be looking at that. Absolutely.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Listen, thanks for jumping on, man. Appreciate
No
it.
problem. Really enjoyed it.
What have you got coming up channel wise?
Well, if you want to talk about Arsenal anytime, give me a shout, because I usually just get a few Guinness in and we just have a
Yeah,
lovely old 2 hours.
man. Anytime.
Coming up on our channel, well, we were meant to do a preview of the game for tomorrow night on this evening show, but I think all our listeners just want to drink cans and have a football quiz, so we're going to do that tonight for a bit of laugh. There'll be nothing on tomorrow night because the game's off. Friday night we do a general sports show. That's Friday night, and back to normal come Sunday. We're doing a daily show at 2:00 every day now. Just with all the Liverpool update stuff. So that's 2:00 Monday to Friday. Someone there asked, can I be asked Coutinho signing for a club in the Prem? Don't really care, mate.
Yeah, Aston Villa apparently.
Aston Villa, but there's apparently just 3 clubs involved, and Liverpool might be one of them that are interested. I'm very indifferent to Coutinho.
Don't Barcelona still owe you money for him?
No, I think that's being sold to somebody else. I think we've got our money, but no, I'm not too bothered over him. You know, like,
he's not the player he was when you sold him. Nowhere near the player he was.
No, but he's had 2 bad knee injuries, hasn't he? He's had 2 knee injuries. He's been out of form. I haven't heard any stories around Coutinho since he left Liverpool in January 2018. So it's 3 years ago now. I haven't heard any period of time where it's like Coutinho's lighting up La Liga or doing anything great.
They loaned him out to Bayern Munich, didn't they?
Yeah, he wins the European Cup with Bayern Munich. But I don't know. Like, I don't think it's for Liverpool. Best of luck for him if he goes to Villa. I think he'd do well at Villa, but not for us. And Liverpool fans will be upset at that because we don't spend any money because we're broke, apparently.
There you go. Yeah. Listen, thanks for coming on, man. Go and subscribe to NFC Day Trippers. The link is in the title of the video, so you just click it and take you straight there. Subscribe to Gav and the boys. And I'll be back again. What time is it now? 5:00 here. So I'll be back at 7.
How often have you dinner?
No, do you know what? I'll be back at 8. So 7 p.m. UK time, 7 p.m. UK, and then I'll drop the next video at 11. Yeah, 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. tonight. Keep your eyes peeled for that. We're out of here, people. Arteta out.